All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Jester Section Hiker podcast. It is January 2026. So first and foremost, Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you all had a fantastic fall and holiday season. It has been since August 5th, 2025, since I put out an episode. And I am back to explain to you all why I put the mic down and kind of what's been going on this fall and my mindset reset when it comes to the podcast, creativity, putting out episodes. And there's one major thing that really happened in my mind when it came to the podcast. And this summer out while I was hiking, I always try to reset my mind when it comes to being an educator and now being a teacher in high school and just kind of refreshing, resetting, maybe learning some new things and kind of being in a mindset where when August comes, I am ready to go for the new school year. And this summer, I decided when I got home in August after hiking and I counted up, I put out 33 podcast episodes this summer. And I think it's A-okay that I had not put out anything since August because what I really wanted to do is take my educator role as serious as possible. And in order for me to do that, I had to start eliminating things in my life. So I wasn't playing, hokey pokey, 1 foot over here, 1 foot over here, 1 foot over here, and not really giving my all to the job that is really my bread and butter and what I really, really love to do, which is being a high school teacher. So I decided in order to take that educational role more seriously, the podcast had to be set to the side until I figured out what the podcast was going to look like in the future. Because doing weekly episodes became more of a chore than something that I really wanted to do. It was something that I wasn't looking forward to. I tried doing episodes every other week to be more consistent. That really didn't work out. Last year, I did a series in the beginning of January, Jester Section Hikers Playbook. That was 7 episodes. And then I did a few episodes here or there. And then I put out some episodes last summer. So that was really 2025 for the podcast. But before I get into what's next for the podcast for 2026, I want to get into why I decided to take my educator role more seriously. And it's not because I didn't take it serious before, but I really wanted to give it my all because the school that I teach at, there are over 2,000 students. And the impact that I can have on our youth, primarily freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, is phenomenal on a daily impact. I mean, I see over hundreds of students every day from the time I hit the door at school at 7:15 in the morning until, the school day is over at 2:15, and the impact I can have in those hours for our youth that are struggling, trying to figure out, am I going to college? Trying to figure out, am I going straight to the workforce? Trying to figure out this whole social media thing that I never had to deal with as a young person. And I'm very thankful for that because social media, the way we use it as adults, is not the way kids use it. So there's a very distinct way that social media is seen and perceived from what I would say my age group, somebody in their 50s versus young teens, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds getting ready to graduate from high school. So I decided that the impact I can have on youth was majorly more important than trying to figure out a podcast. And I also decided that my actions and my character and how I present myself on a daily basis, I wanted to up my game. I wanted to be, or I want to be, and I want to continue to be that mentor, that role model, that educator that these students see, hey, I can rely on Miss Gayhart. I can count on Miss Gayhart. If I have to ask her something, I can ask her something and I can trust Miss Gayhart. So that was my goal this fall coming out of hiking is not only to be a leader, but to shepherd my classroom, be a mentor, come in with good character on a daily basis, someone that the kids can count on day in and day out. And that is where my mindset went as soon as school started this year. Showing up better prepared, showing up organized, showing up with better lessons, showing up with better plans, showing up with a better attitude, showing up with a better outlook. And I did that. And I am going to continue doing that after I get off of this break when we go back in January. And I have been more fulfilled this semester, fall 2025, than I have for a long time in my career. And I've done more studying, I've done more learning. I try to keep up with the latest educational and technological trends. That way, I can show my students. I try to give them more and more opportunity because the opportunity that I have to work with youth and those going out to be productive citizens of society so trumps a podcast about hiking, which is really my hobby. So that is where I went this fall. And that is where I am going to continue to go. I mean, I could sit here and tell you turnaround after turnaround after turnaround from students, just even this semester, not even going back in previous years, and things that not only me, but my department, the Career Technical Education Department, has been able to do for kids has been phenomenal this semester. And I am looking forward to what's going to happen next semester as well. So that is where my heart and soul is. That is where my bread and butter is. And along the way, from August, September, October, I've been trying to figure out, is it time to let the podcast go? Is it time to not talk about hiking anymore? Have I talked myself, out of possibly, everything I can think of to talk about? I really got out of the habit of interviewing other individuals, and that is just the way the podcast kind of turned. And what I've come to the conclusion of, I still have a desire to create. So, number one, the reason I put the mic down is because I'm taking my educator role with all seriousness I can think of. I can impact more people on a mentor daily basis right in front of me, direct communication, talking to each other, not communicating via social media. And that is very important to me. So, number one, that's where I went with that. And I guess number two, what's next for this podcast, the Jester Section Hiker podcast? I still have a desire to create podcast episodes. I do want to take a more minimalist approach. So this fall, I sold all of my equipment. I sold my big mic. I sold my souped up super duper Mac Studio. I sold my screens. I sold my lights. I sold everything. I have nothing left in my podcast studio with the exception of a laptop, the DJI mics, and my phone. And that is going to be my minimalist approach that I have going forward. And I've minimized everything down to one piece of software that I can edit and record on, and that is Descript. And unless you're interested in that, that's all I'm going to say about that. So I've really gone down to a minimalist approach. Again, I talked about this earlier. I felt like I had 1 foot over here, 1 foot over here, and 1 foot over here, and things were just not clicking. So, minimalist approach. I've actually started making some notes on the Threads app, which is, I don't know, it's Instagram's version of Twitter, and I really, really like the Threads app because it reminds me originally how Twitter used to be. You just kind of put your thoughts out there, and it's not all bogged down by ads and everything looking the same and all the reels looking the same. And it's really just thoughts. So I thought, no pun intended, going forward, I would put podcast notes out there on the Threads app. And then really what I've come down to is this January, I've got 5 episodes, and I'm gonna go over those in a little bit, and then this February, I'm gonna be going to Israel. So I am my mom and I are going to Israel, and I got excited, so I gotta back up a second. So what I've decided for the podcast is I've got a series of episodes this month that I'm gonna put out because going back to being an amazing educator also goes back to my health and what I've been trying to do the last 2 years. And I've really dialed in on my health, and that makes me a better person when I go to my job, and it helps me perform all day long. And so that is still a very foundational corner piece of who I am as well, my health. And I'm going to be talking about that on a future episode this month. So I've come to the conclusion with the podcast it is going to be like this month. I've got a series of 5 episodes coming out. And then in February, my mom and I are going to be taking a trip of a lifetime. We are going with a local church here in Charlotte. We're doing all the things. We're going to the Mediterranean Sea. We're going to the Jordan River. And that is going to be 10 days in February. So my plan is, and we're going to national parks in Israel part of some of the tour, but we're doing way more than that. It's so much I can't even go over it right now. But again, this January, I've got a series of episodes coming out. I'm going to record each day in Israel, like a daily vlog kind of thing, but a daily podcast. And I'll put that out on the podcast. And then this spring break, if all goes well and I'm healthy, I really want to do a hiking training camp for my 10 days over spring break, and I'll record that and put that out. And then obviously this summer on the Appalachian Trail, I am going to be doing everything I possibly can to work on that second completion and the 282 miles I have left on the trail. I do have a plan for the 100-mile wilderness that is going to be happening this summer as well. So the podcast going forward is probably not going to be one-off episodes. It is going to be a series of episodes, whether I'm out hiking, which I love to do. That's my favorite way to podcast. Whether I'm on a trip, like my mom and I are going to Israel, or like over my spring break in April, I want to do a hiking training camp. And that is what the podcast is going to look like for 2026. One more thing that I want to tell you guys is another thing that I got rid of, in addition to all my podcast equipment, is I was doing some side work for a couple different organizations, and all of that ended this fall as well, with the exception of one. So last spring, I did some editing, some podcast editing for the National Recreational Park Association, the NRPA. They have a podcast called The Guardians of Green Spaces. And I don't do anything for that podcast but get paid to edit the audio. I don't have to worry about anything else that comes with making a podcast. And they reached out to me, I think it was mid-October, asking me if I would do 5 more episodes for them this spring. And I was like, sure. And they pay me to do it. And they gave me a raise, and I'm very happy with that. Then, after I agreed to do the 5 episodes, they came back and said, hey, we're going to continue to do episodes. Let's just go on a contract with each other. We're going to give you X amount of episodes. We're going to pay you X amount. And they're very easy to work with. They're very organized when it comes to the episodes. So I said, yes, I would make that happen. So that is kind of where I've been. That is kind of what's been going on with the podcast. And here's what you can expect for the month of January. So this is the first Saturday in January. The very next episode I'm going to do is going to be titled Beyond the Scale, where I look at all my stats from 2025, a full year of stats regarding gaining muscle, losing fat, losing weight, all the things that comes with that. I'm going to completely break down everything that has happened with my body transformation is what I'm going to call it for 2025. The next weekend after that, I'm going to give you 4 hacks for staying on track with your macros, 4 little things that I do when I want a snack or I want a sweet treat that might help you all out. The very next episode after that, I'm actually going to break down my daily macros, how I have figured out what works for me very specifically for my daily protein, my daily carbs, and my daily fat intake. And then the episode that is going to round out the month of January is going to be my plan for hiking the 100-mile wilderness. So it is a very detailed plan, and I am going to be hiking with an outdoor company, put it that way. So I'll leave that little carrot dangling out there. And that episode will round out January, and that'll give you guys a good little boost for 2026 and year 6 of the podcast. So more episodes to come. Like I said, I've got a series that's going to hit sometime either beginning of March or end of February, depending on when I get back from Israel. I'm going to daily vlog in Israel or daily podcast. And then hopefully I'll be putting on my own little hiking camp in April. And then we're going back out to the Appalachian Trail summer 2026. And that'll fulfill my creativity that I have flowing out of me. And that'll give you guys some good education, some good learning, and some good takeaways throughout 2026. In the meanwhile, I have almost forgotten what I say at the end of every episode, but thanks for listening. Be safe out there. And as always, happy section hiking.